What's different from the other series? You know, what's unique about the Defender compared to Daredevil, the Cage?
I think just at their core, each of the other shows are about individual people who are very isolated, who have to go on journeys, you know, and have to kind of realize things about themselves as they make their way through the world, whether or not it's Daredevil or Jessica Jones or any of them. And this show really becomes about, I think, a family dynamic, and it really becomes about how four people who are completely isolated, purposely, have to deal other people into their lives, let other people in, and trust people. It's a show, I think, ultimately thematically about that trust and about people forced to come together as people who are very isolated, kind of forced to lift those boards.
One of the, it seems like every series or each season of each series before this kind of has its own like defining characteristic. For Daredevil, it seems unquestionably it's the action. So I kind of have two questions. You know, what is the action of this? Like, how do you guys match that type of action that has come in the series before this? And also, how do you balance all of those tones when you're bringing all these characters together, who each come from a series which is built around their character's specific tone?
Yeah, I think it's a two-part, super complicated question. But first of all, I would say like the iconic kind of Daredevil fight is the one man against a room full of people fight, right? And so even just by their virtue, the way we're going to shoot these things, we can't shoot the four of them fighting a room full of people the same way we're going to shoot a Daredevil fight, right? So emotionally, it kind of becomes very different. This is about group dynamics. This is about these characters. For us, and Jessica knows this as well as anybody. The fight choreography, each character on these shows fights very distinctly and very differently. I remember season 2 of Daredevil, we had many conversations about how Daredevil fought differently than Frank Castle fought. It's almost like an extension of language. The way that they dance in the world, the way that they perform violence is very different. So it's really just about this ballet, or rather this symphony of all these different instruments. The way that Luke Cage throws a punch is very different than the way Jessica Jones throws a punch, is very different than the way Danny throws a punch. I hope that answers it.
Absolutely.
When you just prepare these shows with Netflix, they know exactly what they watch, who they watch, when they watch, everything. So if you just develop this, do you know how much scenes of battle you have to have, how many dialogue, how many relations? Do you have a...
To be honest, at no point did anybody come and say, you know, this is the algorithm that works. You need to make this fit. They're a very artist-friendly company. So we just came and we said, you know, in the writer's room in Marvel, I was able to say, this is a story I want to tell. And nobody ever said, well, by this minute mark, this thing needs to happen because our science has told us. You know, they're very artist-friendly.
With Marvel, everyone got excited for the first Avengers because it was the ensemble. We had 2 Iron Mans, Thor, Captain America, and then the Avengers, and Hulk and all came together. This seems to be following a very similar format to Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and now everybody's together. Do you think Marvel is kind of following a formula in that, or do you think anything from the movies has lent itself to this ensemble and balancing all these characters and making it happen?
I think that's a Jeff Loeb question, to be honest. Mostly, this is just. I can't think about it in those terms. To me, it's just about we have these 4 characters. They're meeting for the first time. In some cases not. But I just had to think about it as an ensemble drama. It's very different. 8 hours of TV is very different than 2 hours and 20 minutes of movies, and so the storytelling needs to be different.
I think it's also pretty realistic that these guys would cross paths. They're all fighting crime.
Yeah.
There's a big criminal storyline going throughout. I mean, obviously in Daredevil and Iron Fist you have the Hand. It's kind of inevitable that you would cross paths and mission for good.
Of all the characters you guys interact with, who do you think is the most interesting dynamic for you?
I'll say.
How do you get the role? How was the process to get the role?
I had heard about Colleen. I had been having discussions with Marvel, and I'd heard about Colleen, and I said to my agent, look, if a project ever comes in and these are the characteristics, let me know. And she came back and she said, there's this project with a code name, the character's called Christine, but she matches everything that you said. And she was like, I'm pretty sure it's Colleen. And so I said, send it to me. I read it, and I was immediately like, okay, that's it. I auditioned. I made a self-tape. Thing got cast. They flew me out to screen test with him. I got on a plane, and when I landed back in London, I had a phone call from Jeff immediately. And he said, I have 3 words that are going to change your life. Welcome to Marvel. It was a whirlwind. Yeah, and then it was, I think a month after that, I started filming Iron Fist, and we rolled straight into Defenders.
So you sign your life?
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. Property of mom.
Did you have a lot of fight training prior?
A lot of people seem to think that I was very athletic in some way, but yes, I've done fights for other shows. Obviously on Game of Thrones I used the whip. My very first job I learned wushu, but Colleen is her own beast. She knows the katana for starters, and she does aikido and krav maga, and I'd never tried any of those things before, so it was I remember that first month after being cast was pretty awful. I was just eating so much protein and working out 6 hours a day, and it became my life. It's a full-time job trying to bulk up.
So in the show, I'm sure we'll see her interact with Colleen interact with Missy Knight eventually. So would you ever consider doing a Daughters of the Dragon spin-off series if you got the chance to?
I know that people really want it.
Yeah.
I think it would be very dependent on who was the showrunner and what the storyline was, and if it felt organic, that we would come together. There's definitely a lot of interest there.
Okay.
I just have to go back for a second. There more than once on set, I would be there in Video Village, and the little, the Colleen outfit, the swords whipping around, and just like something super cool happens on screen, and we're all like, that's great, cool. Okay, so I guess now we should get Jessica in there instead of the stunt person, and we realized Jessica was doing the stunt person, and she's just all the work she's put in has been kind of incredible. Just wanted to that little asterisk.
I don't know if there's a big difference in between when you do a network show versus streaming, but is there like a 5-year plan in terms of Defenders, in terms of season by season? Do you guys have ideas what you want to do for future season of the series?
I can't plan anything like foreign events. Again, that's Jeff Lowe question. Yeah.
Okay.
To me, it feels like, as is, these shows take so long to make that it feels like once Jeff said, you're doing Defenders, I'm like, okay, it's gonna be a year of my life. I'm not thinking about 20, whatever. So that's Jeff question.
Are there elements of Defenders that kind of leave room for future stories?
In their own worlds?
Sure.
We have to get Luke back into a place where he's going to go do season 2, and same with JJ. So, yeah.
All the characters are very changed by what happens.
How much physically you change your body in order to get where you want it on the character?
Well, they were pretty certain that they wanted me to kind of get more like ripped, and it's very hard because I wanted to get more bulky, and so it's a really hard thing to put. Anyone who's tried it will know it's very hard to put on weight and also lean down at the same time. So that first month before I got the role, when I got the role, I mainly just bulked, and then as soon as we started filming, I started losing it and becoming more ripped. And I've lost all my muscle now because I've not been playing Colleen for like 6 months.
So you can just like turn it off and on and off and on?
No. If I was getting back into the Colleen role again, I would be having to do a month minimum. 2 months really to get me into the physical state. It's hard. It's a hard role to do, and you've got to keep it up for. We filmed across 5 months? I think it was 5 months, and then I had just done Iron Fist, which was 6-7 months, something like that. To maintain that physical shape is tough. It's a lot of self-control.
Can you talk anything about collaborating with the other showrunners of the Defenders? Had they any involvement with it, or was it just kind of like...
Early on, it was the most involvement. It was kind of, we had lots of conversations. It was just basically checking in with Mel. At that point, it was just Mel and Che and Scott Black. Iron Fist was still a seed. We hadn't seen anyone yet or read scripts. But it was just checking in with them, and it was mostly through Marvel. But it was kind of pitching like, this is a story I'd like to tell on for Jessica on Defenders. This is a story I'd like to tell for Luke on Defenders. Does that more or less jive with where you think you want to go? How can we kind of find a nice place so that JJ Lane's in a place that kind of sends her right into JJ2, and the same with Luke. So it was really collaborative, really lovely. We're all in the same building, so it was a lot of just like walking across the hall, sitting on Cheo Coker's couch, and being like, "What up? Let's talk about the story," and that was really fun.
So you got to put in a lot of man hours in watching each one of those series to get a sense of the characters.
I wonder how many hours that is.
13 times 5, yeah.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.